Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Digital by AttentionMedia. Today we have Lou, our Google strategist, up in the Shepparton office for a live in-person podcast to talk all things Google Ads. We're going to break down what Google Ads is, how it can benefit your business, and why it is something that you should be looking at very seriously as part of your marketing mix in 2022 and beyond. So stay tuned, that episode is up next. Welcome to Digital, a podcast brought to you by AttentionMedia, a location-agnostic digital growth agency helping businesses become iconic brands. On this show, we dive into the hottest topics, the latest updates, and what's working in social media and digital marketing right now to get you up to speed and keep you informed. And if you want to grow your business through strategic digital marketing, head over to attentionmedia.com.au, click on the Book a Discovery Call tab, fill out some details, and we'll be in touch. We'd also love to know if you're listening to this show. So please take a screenshot, upload it to your preferred social media account, and tag us at Attention Media Agency. Let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Attention Media. Very excited today. We're heading towards the end of the working year for 2021, but I'm also super excited because we have our other full-time team member, Lou. She's up in the Shep office in person, and we're going to do a podcast today talking all things Google Ads. So welcome to the show, Lou.
It's good to be here.
It's good to have you here. Very exciting. It's always exciting to have team members who, and actually that's a whole other conversation to itself actually, because you've been with us now for several months doing an amazing job through our Google portfolio. And this is actually the first time we've met. Like we did the whole recruitment process and everything, onboarding all online. And I know that kind of blows some people's minds, but yeah, it's crazy. How did you find that experience?
Yeah, well, I think it deserves its own podcast episode.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, I'm quite used to it because in the last agency that I worked for, when COVID started, we just went straight to working from home, and our team grew, and recruitment happened all online, remotely.
Yep. Where there's a will, there's a way.
It became normal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a good hiring process and you've got systems and stuff in there to make sure that it is a right fit, then there's no reason why it can't be done online as well. So, but anyway, that's a whole different conversation. So, Lou, very excited to have you on the show. Do you just want to give us a brief introduction, a bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah, well, I've been working in the digital marketing space for several years. My background is in developing WordPress websites, and through that I kind of got a feel of the digital ecosystem, so like how they work together with SEO and ads and everything else. And yeah, I just sort of gravitated towards search engine related things, SEO, and finally settled on Google Ads.
Excellent. Love that. And previous agency experience, was that based mainly around Google Ads as well, or as you said, there was a bit of that web development included?
Yeah, a fair amount of web development, and then it sort of became a mixed bag of things, and then I landed on Google Ads in the past couple of years.
And doing very well at it, because can hands down say, Lou has been with us for almost 3 months now and made a huge impact and improvements right across our Google Ads portfolio. So it's been very exciting to watch, and it's awesome to have you on board. And obviously the purpose of today's conversation is to talk about Google Ads. I think there's a lot of different things that we could dive into, but we've kind of condensed it a little bit today to keep it fairly succinct and try and put paint a bit of a picture around Google Ads for SME business owners in particular. We were having a bit of a chat before the podcast and talking about how most people in today's day and age, 2021, know that they need to have some kind of digital presence, right, to be able to grow their business and grow their business online. But there's still a lot of businesses out there who aren't on Google, or they don't have a really well optimized Google presence at all. So, what are some of the benefits that you think Google Ads can bring to those small type businesses?
Definitely, like being able to be found easily. One thing I was going to mention, like most people know that they do need a web or a Google presence, but if you don't have one, you could be potentially missing out on some business, because a lot of people these days, if you're moving to a new town or whatever and looking for a new service, they might not ask their neighbours or friends, they might go directly to Google and be expecting to find, something to help them make a decision on whether to go with this provider or that provider.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. Like, what's the first thing we do? Like, we grab the mobile phone or we open the laptop. So, if you don't have a Google presence in today's day and age, yeah, you're definitely leaving some opportunity on the table. That's for sure. One of the other things that often sort of pops up, being a digital growth agency ourselves, talking to a lot of different business owners and people who are looking to get into the space or improve their marketing, there's often a bit of sort of back and forth around, should I do SEO or should I do Google Ads? And obviously two very different things. Oftentimes people don't fully understand it, and that's completely normal. But perhaps we should shed a little bit of light on the differences between SEO and Google Ads. And if you're kind of a business owner out there trying to decide on which one's right for you, obviously they are quite different. So let's talk about those a little bit. What's SEO, just to start with?
For sure. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's a process of applying some, optimizations, tweaking the code on your website to help Google find it, adding content to your website that users and search engines will find interesting enough to place you higher in search results.
Yep.
So where it's similar to Google Ads, both will get you found on Google, but SEO is a much slower approach, and you need to add content to your website over time, make sure that it's relevant and interesting, and then also watch what your competitors are doing as well.
Yeah, we recently had Chabelle from Studio Hawk, and they're a dedicated SEO agency based down in Melbourne, and we were talking about the fact that, to try and paint an analogy around it, SEO is very similar to, the internal structure of your website, and Google essentially can only work off the information that website contains. SEO is your meta descriptions, your metadata, your head tags, all that sort of stuff. And oftentimes if, somebody has built, a business owner has built the website themselves, or they've used, a drag and drop template, for example, a lot of times that SEO can kind of be forgotten and not well optimized for Google. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. It's quite easy to think, oh, I've got a website now.
And
people will come to it. It looks beautiful. People will come to it, but the web is a very big place, and Google's not necessarily going to find it as soon as you hit publish.
Exactly. So if you are listening in, watching in, and you want to get a really good understanding of what SEO is, definitely suggest flicking back an episode or two and tuning into that episode with Chabelle for all things SEO. But now let's focus on Google Ads, for example. So what's the main difference, or some of the differences with Google Ads compared to SEO?
Well, with Google Ads and search in particular, it sort of gives you like a shortcut to getting to the top of results. And a lot of the time, especially if you're in a competitive local business, others will be there already. And so rather than wait for your SEO to kick in, you might want to consider paying for the Google search ads to appear at the top of the results. Yeah. Because I don't think nobody really scrolls down and goes to the next page and the next page.
I'm trying to think of the last time that I went to page 2, or even scroll to the bottom of page 1 on Google. We don't even do that anymore. Yeah, it's so true. And I think, again, sort of that main difference between SEO and Google Ads, as you said, is kind of the time factor that's involved. Like, both have a very important place in that digital marketing mix. But with SEO, it's much more of a long-term approach to get Google to rank your website organically when somebody types in certain keywords, and that does take time. And when we say take time, anywhere from 3, 6, 12 months to a couple of years, even depending on what you're trying to rank for. Whereas Google, a well-optimized Google strategy, as soon as you turn those ads on, you're able to compete in that space and compete with those competitors that are already online. So definitely agree. With Google Ads, what are some of the types of placements? Like if we want to try and break it down and paint a bit of a picture for, that business owner that's listening in saying, yep, sounds like I really need to increase my Google presence. Where do people see Google ads? Like what are the placements? What's sort of involved from a Google ad perspective? Let's break that down for everyone.
Yeah, so like we were just talking about Google search and being top of those search results, that's one of the main places where businesses will like to show their ads, is where people are looking for them. And it's a great place to be because you could, be there at the right place and time when somebody's, looking for a product or service.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, there's a range of other Google ad categories as well. And we could probably do another podcast talking about all the different types.
A separate podcast on each placement. Yeah, exactly.
The other primary one is display ads. And so these are like your banners that you see on the side of the news website or at the top of the page of the news website. That contain information about brands, products and services.
Those image-based ads that chase you around the internet.
Yeah. From a business perspective, I think they're quite good for the purpose of raising awareness of your brand. Especially if you've got a whole new business or brand that nobody's heard of before. Yeah. Those banners might not necessarily lead someone to buy straight away, but it does sort of keep you in the customer's mind. The more times you see it, the more recognisable you become and more trustworthy you become.
Yep. I think that's a great point to mention as well, because when we look at the psychology behind marketing, like this, the psychological fundamentals, behind marketing and persuasion and enticing somebody to buy, like none of that ever changes. Like the digital platforms and the placement and stuff, it's always evolving, changing, improving, etc. But the fundamentals stay the same. And one of those fundamentals is that an individual needs to have a certain number of touch points to build that familiarity principle with a business or a brand. And that used to be sort of 5 touch points. So they had to see a brand 5 times before they'd be comfortable enough to buy it. In today's day and age, the statistics are more like 20 touch points with a business or a brand before somebody is ready to buy. And if we put that into the context of like marketing a business, 20 touch points, in a TV sense or in a newspaper sense or in like a billboard sense, like that's a lot of times that somebody has to come across your business or brand. Whereas on digital, it's the same number, but you're able to get in front of those people much more regularly and generally for a much cheaper cost as well. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And it's not just that, but also with Google Ads, you are also in the right place when the user or the consumer is sort of in the right mind for the product. So like, for example, they could be looking at a YouTube channel about how to care for your dog and then relevant ads about dog products show up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it gives you that ability to, as you said, be in the right place at the right time.
But yeah, otherwise if you're just watching regular old TV, you'll get ads for all sorts of things. They might not even be of interest to you.
Exactly. Or you're not even watching those ads, you're sitting there scrolling your phone, looking at Google ads.
They're much more, tailored to you.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So that's Google search, obviously the text-based ads that will show up when you type keywords into Google, and then also Google display, which is the image-based ads. There's another 2 sort of main placements that come with Google ads as well. Let's dive into those.
Yeah, all right. So we can talk about video.
Yeah.
That's another one. It is much more expensive than display and search ads, but I think they're also quite powerful because you can catch people's attention very well with moving pictures. And like I mentioned, YouTube, a lot of people are spending time on YouTube. And getting interrupted by those ads,
but getting quite good results as well for the most part. Like if it's done well, a well placed YouTube video, like pre-roll, whatever it might be, works very, very well. And again, it's one of those placements that is not as saturated as, say, the Facebook news feed, for example. So, oftentimes the competition is not quite so high. You can get more cut through, make more impact. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting place. And I think that's one of the placements that people often forget about a lot of the time with Google Ads is, YouTube, running video ads on YouTube. So that's definitely another place to look at. And then the final one would be Google Shopping, which is a whole different beast to itself.
Shopping ads are great because you can be there at the right time when a consumer is looking for something. I think, Google's pretty smart and it knows like what the person is looking for is a product, and it'll show you, exactly what you're looking for at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, that's another thing that, we often don't think about as well, is the machine learning and the artificial intelligence and all that sort of stuff behind, a product like Google Ads is constantly evolving and getting better and better as well. So it's, it's not just the opportunity to put your ad or your product in front of somebody, but Google's also working very hard to put it in front of the right person as well, and the right person at the right time. So yeah, there's so many benefits to, and it makes for a very complex platform, which I suppose is why we have the jobs we do, and businesses look to outsource this type of thing, because it can be so complex, and having a really good strategy piece behind your Google Ads is going to set you up for success for the long run. So that's really good. I'd love to kind of touch on some of the types of businesses that we in particular have had some great success with Google Ads. For example, one of those businesses right off the top of my head, it was a great. It's a bit of a feel good story really, because it was a local bricks and mortar florist, and the owner of that store actually came to me. And she said, look, I've got some pretty aggressive goals. I'd love to open like a second store, a second location, but I need to make another 100,000 in revenue. We're like, okay, excellent. That's a great goal to be working towards. And then we went away and did a strategy and came back with Google being the most appropriate platform. And we were able to successfully sort of month on month generate at least 10K worth of new revenue on a pretty modest budget for that florist, right? And I think when you kind of put that into context where we essentially hit that 100K revenue mark within sort of 12 months, effectively for anybody else out there who is running a similar business, who is a florist, the potential is there to add, X amount of revenue just like that onto your profit and loss. It's a really powerful thing, and a lot of the time it kind of gets thrown by the wayside. So that's something to think about for sure. Another business that we recently had a lot of success with as well, and this was a limestone quarry that actually approached us, and they wanted to work with us. And the issue that they had is that they are based down near a shipping port in Geelong, and what they wanted to do was to try and attract new customers, because they knew that farmers, obviously being their main customer base, to spread lime on their paddocks. They wanted to find more customers in a certain area. They knew that the farmers were trucking the grain to the ports to get loaded onto ships, etc. And one of the major rules in trucking is you never want to run your truck empty. So what would normally happen is they would try and refill with something else for the return trip. And obviously our client wanted that to be their lime. So we put together a great Google strategy as well, targeting that particular audience in certain areas that they wanted to target. And we had great success with that as well. Again, a very modest amount of ad spend turned into several $100,000 worth of lime purchased essentially. So that one's a little bit out of the box, but it works really, really well. Is there any other sort of examples of businesses that Google Ads could work well for?
Well, that actually is a really good point though. Like you can target very specific group of people, rather than show your ads to anyone and everyone. But just off the top of my head, local plumbers.
Yeah, again, another great one. Yeah, same. Another client of ours, local plumbing business, and when you think about it, normally when somebody's going to call a plumber, it's some kind of emergency, like something's wrong. They need a solution to the problem straight away, and they're going to jump straight onto Google, search any of the plumbing keywords, and we've had great success helping another client of ours as well to show up to rank at the top of Google for all the different services that they offer, and that's been another great campaign as well. So yeah, literally, like any type of business, there will be some kind of strategy that is potentially going to help grow your revenue using Google Ads. So it's an absolutely fantastic platform. Should people try and run their own Google Ads, Lou?
Well, that's a bit like saying, should people try and be their own mechanic and fix the cars?
Are you a mechanic, first and foremost? If you're not...
Yeah. It is possible to learn how to do it yourself, but I think it takes several years of experience to know, what is a good strategy and what isn't. And there's so many moving components to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose that's the benefit of looking to outsource work with a trusted agency, is that not only are you able to, tap into somebody else's experience, you're also able to rely on the successes that they've had in the past as well, right? Like there's a process there, there's a procedure there, there's an individual, there's a strategist who knows the platform or should know the platform inside and out, and you can really get started on the right foot. So there's definitely benefit in partnering with an agency there, and I think for anybody who is potentially thinking about that, should I try it myself? Should I look for some help? The question is, should always ask is who, not how. Like, don't try and, as a business owner, try and lump it all on yourself and say, oh, well, now I've got to try and learn Google Ads as well. So always try and answer it, who, not how. But then second to that, the other question is, in terms of costs and all that sort of stuff, it's, what do I have more of now? Do I have more time, or do I have more money to invest? And the answer will come from that as well. Like, if you don't have a huge amount of cash flow, or potentially just starting out in your business, then you do have time that you can put into it and sort of learn how to get started in Google Ads. But if you're a well-established business, you've got a product or a service that sells, you've got some cash flow there you can invest into your marketing, then the best thing, according to many people, would be to look at outsourcing to somebody externally, and then you can continue to do what you do best, which is grow your business.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Excellent. And look, to wrap this one up, Lou, what should people do if they do want help with their Google Ads?
Talk to us.
Shameless plug there for AttentionMedia. If you are thinking about Google Ads, then please reach out. We can always assist. Always happy to have a chat with anybody, and book in a discovery call as well. Always happy to have a chat. But Lou, thanks so much for jumping on the podcast, and looking forward to many more, because as we said, Google's always updating their platforms. There's new things coming out. The way that we go about Google Ads is always changing, essentially. So we'll have to jump on, and anytime there's new updates to alert people to, we'll have to jump on and record it.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening in. As we mentioned, all of the links, information will be in the show notes for today's episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the very next episode. So that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. As we mentioned, we'd love to get your thoughts and feedback on this episode. You can do that by heading over to our Instagram @AttentionMedia Agency and letting us know what your thoughts. Send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. We'd also love to know what you'd like us to talk about in upcoming episodes. So send us your topic ideas. We are always interested. And if you'd love to know more, head over to the website attentionmedia.com.au. That's all for now. We'll see you in the next episode.